Hello, and welcome to the Rockies Hockey Podcast. Hope you're having a good day. Um, welcome to episode 3. We have a lot to talk about today. Just gonna get started with that. 6 total Flames games, as well as a couple of other events that have happened around the league, and specifically relating to the Flames. We're gonna get to that after the games, but there's a lot to talk about today. Partially because of the schedule change in uploading videos. For the first episodes, it was midweek, and so I decided after that change that to do it over for like weekends, probably Sundays. And so that change kind of made it so I decided to do it, not release one last weekend, but just do it this weekend. So it would kind of be the past week and a half of games, which I guess didn't work out because now we have a lot of games, and I didn't really think of that. I guess I probably should have just done one last weekend and then one this weekend, but well, I guess here we are. Today is going to be a pretty heavy one because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of different topics to cover, but I think it'll be fun for me and hopefully for you to listen. To those of you who listened to the past 2 episodes and are listening to this one, thank you so much for taking the time to do so, and hope you're enjoying them. As always, I'm going to mention this later on as well, but if you have any thoughts, opinions, questions, anything you would like me to cover in future episodes, please tell me in the comment section down below. I would be more than willing to take a look at that. So, thank you so much, and so let's get right into this. First off, though, little note on the Matthew Coronato situation, which we discussed last episode. He did release a statement saying that he just talked with the Flames and basically decided that he's going to stick to Harvard for one more year, and that he says when it comes time to sign with the Flames, he's going to sign with the Flames and he doesn't want to go anywhere else. So we're not going to see a repeat of the Adam Fox incident. So thank goodness for that. And obviously the Flames agree with this. I agree with that. I wanted him to stay one more year in Harvard, and I feel like the Flames are good. Stockton's good enough without him having to come in early because there's no need yet. So I'm glad he's gonna be able to develop in Harvard, and who knows, compete for the championship there. So that's the first thing. So the first thing we're gonna cover, we're just gonna get into the games here. The first one is the one in Calgary against LA, the 3-2 loss in the shootout. So my thoughts on this one. So we're just gonna kind of like go timeline wise. So I'm not gonna talk about stuff that's just happened. I'm just kind of going like a timeline. So my thoughts on this one. I kind of have to think back to this one. The PK was good. It was 2 for 2. The power play was 1 for 3, which is okay. Regarding that, I think I have to talk about Johnny Gaudreau's overall situation in this game, because he did a couple of interesting things. First of all, the Flames allowed the first goal, which was an Alex Iafallo goal. Basically, Gaudreau just kind of like threw the puck into the zone. It was pretty much a horrible effort for him because he just dumps it in. Kopitar easily picks it up. He doesn't even go all the way down. It's kind of a dump to get the change going. And Johnny just sees that Kopitar's taken. He's literally got a big odd-man rush. The Flames are changing. Doesn't really do much. Just goes to the bench. And I guess everyone just needed to make a better change than that. And I guess that just caused the 2-on-1 to happen. And then Iafallo Markstrom had no chance. So Iafallo scored, which sucked. It was like 1-0. But I think it was good to see kind of the team. Everyone just was like trying to get fired up. Daryl was yelling like 5 minutes into the game. It was still 0-0, and just telling them, be better, do better. Really like trying to get the boys like encouraged again. Even Luch, like, he was pretty frustrated. I don't know when this specifically was, but I remember he was really yelling at the team, just like, get going out there, get going. Which is good. You want to see that leadership for everyone on the team, especially veteran like Luch, and everyone loves Luch. So that was just really awesome. Basically, yeah. And then so after that, I guess Johnny Gaudreau, about the play that he made, he actually did kind of score another one and actually get the game tied, I believe. Yeah, tied. Like he stayed on the power play shift longer. I'm like, oh no, Johnny, don't do this. Is the first thought that went through my head when he did that. Like, don't like make another shift mistake and like stay out there longer to try to overcompensate. But he did that, and he actually scored on the rebound. So rebound with loose puck near the open end, and kind of Peterson kind of just went down, and Gaudreau had a nice shot, just went top shelf. So nice, made up for it. And then I believe who scored? Good Branson scored, right? Or it was someone got a tip, something. Basically that made it 2-1, and then they tied it up, and which was another bad defensive play. That should have been cleaned up pretty easily, because there was, I think, 2 or 3 Flames players behind the goal, leaving Arvidsson just open in front. and let him get a good chance at goal, which that shouldn't have happened. But and then we get to overtime. Basically, we would have won the game. Flames should have just quickly gone up the ice, and someone would have scored, probably like Gaudreau or Lindholm, and then Lindholm takes a penalty in overtime. I feel like the Flames could have really just won it in overtime if he didn't do that. He didn't need to take that penalty. He just feels like a bad decision. Now, everyone did a good job killing off the 4-on-3 there, right? The ensuing power play, right? I think Goodbranson and Tanev were out there the whole 2 minutes. They got like 5 shots. I may be making that up, but they got a lot of shots on goal on that power play, and it was kind of scary. But nothing really happened, and we go to the shootout, and in the shootout, Elias Anderson scores, and whatever. Am I disappointed that we weren't able to win the shutout, regardless of having such a good lineup when it comes to, like, Johnny Gaudreau? Come on, he's got such a good shot. He can deke out the goalie as well. We know he has that skill. Same with Tkachuk. Like he scored that, like, the one-hander against Anaheim in the shootout and all that. Am I disappointed that we weren't able to do any of that and just lose in the shootout? No, because you don't need the shootout in the playoffs. As simple as that. Like, if you lose, you don't need to necessarily go out of your way and focus on improving your shootout ability, because you know that's not important in the playoffs, and you also know that winning shootouts is only going to contribute to so little of your points in the regular season that it's not going to make that much of a difference. Regardless, I'm not too upset that we lost there. I'm just more upset about some of the smaller mistakes throughout the game, right? Johnny Gaudreau made that bad line change, gave that away, so the Iafalo goal happened. Bad defensive coverage on Arvidsson. Did I say the wrong name earlier? I might have said the wrong name earlier, but it was Victor Arvidsson who scored that tying goal. Arvidsson, like, just left out in the open, like, he gets a good chance and scores. The penalty in overtime, that was unnecessary. I think that was kind of the thing. I guess I always like to take a look at the ice time just to see who's kind of playing a lot and who's playing less. Both Calgary first D, so Hanifin and Razzie, played over 25 minutes, which is ridiculous. Doesn't make sense. Like, I think Goodbranson and Tanev also had a good amount of ice time, but that was because of the amount of penalties and the overtime penalty. And then Sean Durzi for LA, they'll play 28-36, which I found ridiculous, but he was out there a lot. He was definitely out there a lot. That's my thoughts for the LA game. I may be missing something, and if it does come back to my mind, I will put it out there. But that's kind of that for that one. So now we get to, in my opinion, the worst game of the week, which was against St. Louis. Almost at Seattle, but I mean St. Louis. This was just another disappointing loss, right? It was 2 in a row, like Colorado, and one thing about that LA game, Flames hadn't lost back-to-back games since January 13th, and this was the first time that it happened. That was just like, oh gosh, that was just disappointing to happen, but like, oh well, that was gonna happen. Every once in a while, that kind of mistake was definitely going to happen. So I wasn't too hurt with that. But then it gets to 3 straight, and we played a pretty bad game, one of the worst games in a long stretch, and I would say the worst game of, like, all the 6 games I'm going to cover here in this podcast. We're going to talk about. It's another disappointing loss. So standings. So I kind of made standings as of April 4th, pre-game the next game, which was in LA. This is the standings. Kings sat 3 points behind Calgary in second place, and then Minnesota had more points than the Flames now. They've been on a pretty big run of late, but still, that's horrible. This was before. This is outdated. So don't use this. It's just standings. The standings have changed since, because the Flames have won 4 straight. But this one was like, oh gosh, what? And my thoughts during this game was like, at a point, the Flames had 9 more points than the Kings were second. So the Flames were just like top of the Pacific Division. Now I think at this point there was a 9-point difference between the Flames and I think both wildcard teams, which is like, whoa, that changed pretty quickly, right? So, like, this kind of bad play continues. Oh, that's gonna like quickly accelerate into us falling behind in the standings now. I would say the biggest mistake we did was bad D zone plays, like heads on a swivel. Like, people are just like turning their heads on, looking for like puck watching, right? And not everyone's covered. St. Louis had 25 shots. We had 43, and we let in a total of 6 goals. I think 2 were empty netters. 1 was empty netter. I don't remember much, but regardless, like, come on, that's not how we do things, right? Um, that's not the deep play we are. We're a playoff kind of team. Like, we've been doing such good all year, and then these games are like frustrating to watch because of how damn bad our D looks. Um, and I mean, like, honestly, we just let them get the most of only 25 shots on goal, right? They had that power play goal off the rush, and by the way, horrible PK. 0 of 1. They only had one power play, so only one penalty killed. But that was, we didn't let it go. And I think it was O'Reilly who scored just off the rush. We're not that kind of team who allows those kinds of plays, right? We were letting guys sneak in, get close, like I think Falk, right, all the way from the blue line, just comes straight up. He's like, no one's watching him. Comes in just right in front of the zone, and perfect pass to him, and he scores. Like, those are the type of mistakes we're playing that we didn't make all the time. And we also got goalied. Like, we had 43 shots, and we only scored 4. They outscored us, basically, and we had way more shots. Yeah, like, Husso was really, really good. We did get goalied. But I think, compared to the 5-1 loss we had back a while ago, I think it was January, in St. Louis, Husso was, I think, in my opinion, better in that game. And you really felt like you were getting goalied. Like, I felt like, and I could be, maybe not remember this that well, and maybe other people have a different opinion, but or you have a different opinion, feel free to tell me what you think. But I thought that Husso, like, it felt like it was difficult to beat Husso in that game. This game, he didn't feel like invincible. Like, he felt like he wasn't playing like this dominant goaltending position, right? He was playing pretty good, but not as good as that game, and so, which is disappointing. They also had Krug out. Their D was weak, like their D mobility, their puck moving, that was off, and yet again, not able to capitalize because, they didn't play that sloppy. I think maybe in the first there were a couple of instances, sloppiness, obviously, sloppiness on Husso's part because he tried to play the puck and Richie scored on him. That was the game's first goal, which was like, that was a nice one. It was kind of a dang it, but nice to see that happen. And so that's kind of it. Like, I don't really know if there's a way to cap this game. Well, Johnny had a nice goal on the partial breakaway, I think. Right? Richie was injured in this game, which was disappointing to see him go, but he came back. He's come back by now, and he looks okay. So that's really good that he wasn't hurt more than, like, he wasn't hurt. He's not hurt that bad as he looked he was. So that's good. That's really good for him. Yeah, I don't know if there's really a way to put this. We should have played better. Like, their D was weak. We should have capitalized, and we didn't. We had a lot of shots, but right, really, I guess that's not the point. It's just that, like, we had so many chances, and yet we weren't able to capitalize, and it was basically our mistakes in the back end that resulted in their, like, limited amount of chances still getting a lot of goals. But regardless, yeah. So basically, kind of after this game, like, I was kind of getting a little bit stressed because, that's 3 straight losses. Like, all the other teams in the West and, like, Pacific specifically are starting to catch up. And so I just thought about some of the problems, and even some of the analysts, I believe, on After Hours or on Sportsnet, because after the game, they were discussing what some of the problems might be for the Flames. And I completely agree with these. And these basically are Markie's tired, Markstrom's tired, play Vladar more. That's the solution. Like, play Vladar. Markie's tired. Like, he started so many games. And I think Vladar, the last game he started was against San Jose, which I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But before that was against Vancouver, like mid or even early March. You gotta play him more. I mean, I get it, but, like, I feel like if the Flames tire out Markstrom, going into the playoffs, we're kind of screwed. Because what are you going to do? Like, that's a problem that we don't, like, the Flames need to make sure that doesn't happen. We want 110% Jacob Markstrom in the playoffs. You can play Vladar more because you have that ability to do so. Like, Flames are still the first team in the Pacific Division. They still have a cushion. They still have a leverage against other teams. They can play Vladar in those easy games. And basically my thought was, play Vladar for 2 of the 4 games in the upcoming California/Seattle road trip. Like, play Vladar 2 games, and then play Markstrom the other 2 games. And the Flames obviously didn't do that. They played Markey for 3 and then Vladar for 1. But, oh well. That's, I guess. It's disappointing because it should have been Vladar, for one of the games that Markstrom played, but okay. The next problem was too many home games, we're kind of getting bored or losing focus. And we didn't do that for a long time. Like, this is, for the last 2 months, we've played, I would say, 80 to 90% of our games at home. The rest have been on the road, like 10 to 20%. But here's the solution. You're about to go on a 4-game road trip, like, chill. And then the next one, I think this is probably the biggest one, and that's the reason behind all of the mistakes, the sloppy plays, right? Sort of the lack of defensive awareness. It's just that we're cruising to the playoffs. Like, we're in a playoff spot. We know if we even win, I would say, like, even half of the upcoming games, or maybe not half, but, like, I don't know. Yeah, I would say maybe around half, or maybe a couple more than that. We're still fine. Like, we're just going to cruise into the playoffs, make that, safe landing and stuff. But the other teams, I would say pretty much every other team in the West that's kind of competing, like, they're competing for playoffs. So not Colorado or, like, Minnesota maybe, but a lot of the other teams are competing. They're grinding right now. They're playing really, really good hockey, at the highest level of hockey they have in order to get to the playoffs. The Flames are just chilling, which means they're going to beat us if we're relaxed. And it's like, that's why we're playing sloppy hockey, right? We don't really care as much. The other teams are not that desperate. And obviously, I heard in the press, some of the other guys on the team are saying that that's not the case. Like, we need to be more motivated. We need to be more energetic, like, focus more on the game. And I guess the solution is just to stop having that kind of play. I guess that changed. And I think the part of the problem why we lost 3 straight was all 3 of these things, like a mix of them. And that definitely took a turn. Because next game is in LA. And this was just, like, it felt like when this game happened, all is right with the Flames. Like, everything is fine. Like, I was not worrying one tiny bit, even though I know that our last 5 record isn't looking that great. I was just chill. Just, like, felt like everything was good. So, guys, PK, let's start just talking about some of the basic, like, statistic stuff. PK was okay. 5 out of 6. We allowed that goal on a 5-on-3. Could it have been better? Of course. Like, when you get scored on, you always think of a place to improve. But that's forgivable, I think. 5 on 6. So that's 5 of 5. We killed 5 of the 6. So that's pretty good. Solid effort, I think, to come off a losing streak. Like, come on. This was just really, really good game overall. Like, it felt like we were in the whole time. Obviously, a great start, right? Gaudreau scores 10 seconds into the game, and Cal Peterson just decides to play the puck and goes in the crease. It was a very broken play. Like, I was still putting my Flames jersey on when that goal happened. If, like, just getting to the game, right? Like, just like turn the TV on, start watching the game, and then, like, as I'm putting on my Flames jersey, which I do that, like, even if I'm the only, like, even if I'm watching at home in my basement, I'm still gonna do that just to get the hype up. But I'm putting my jersey on it, and then they score the goal, and I was like, "What? You already scored? Beautiful." That was a nice play. I didn't even get who scored, and I'm like, okay, Johnny's selling, he scored. Which is awesome. And again, that was a good start. It kind of blew it with the 2 goals from Kempe. It was Kempe. Like, this was like, oh no, not again. And the entire intermission, I'm just like, what are we doing? We're gonna lose another one. We're gonna lose 4 straight. We're not gonna make the playoffs. That was my thoughts. But it's okay. We come back into it, and it's just basically whatever happens, it's like beautiful. Lindholm scores on a pass from Johnny, and then Gaudreau buries one, like, just stick out, like, Carpenter makes a good pass, gets his first point as a Flame for Gaudreau, and just throws the hands on Peterson and scores. Gaudreau has 2 goals and an assist. He was our best player, no question. I'm beating around the bush. The biggest thing he did was pick up Sean Dursey and, like, pull him off of Matthew Tkachuk. So if you don't know what happened, I would say go check out the clip. I believe it must be somewhere on YouTube. Pretty much the highlight of the game, in my opinion. If you watch nothing else, watch this one single play. Because, Johnny Gaudreau, he's like a small guy. He doesn't get into fights. He won the Lady Byng a few years back. Basically had like a crease battle. Tkachuk and, like, Dursey's, like, on top. I think it was Dursey. He was on top of Tkachuk. And so Tkachuk was kind of down. And so Gaudreau just comes up from behind him, pulls, like, grabs his arm around his, like, head, or, like, kind of his, like, neck area, kind of like a headlock. I don't know what a headlock. I don't know if that's exactly the right way to describe it. And just pulls Dursey down, just smacks him, like, falls to the ground, and then Gaudreau, like, even gives him, like, a little shove to the face with his hand, and it was just like, whoa, and he got 2 for roughing. But who cares about that? He literally just, like, that guy was down and out, and it was so, like, kind of cool to see, and then you saw the replay, and it was even better. But Johnny Gaudreau's not the type of guy to do that, and he also just threw away his Lady Byng, his chances at the Lady Byng. acting like a goon. But it was awesome. And then Sutter said in the post game that he wanted Johnny to actually fight someone to get the Gordy hat trick because he had a goal. He had finished the game with 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points, which was like awesome. I think this made the game the most fun. Johnny Gaudreau just had a great night, and he's my most favorite player. I think by now it might be pretty obvious because I talk about him so much every time. Like that's the main guy I talk about. But yeah, which is awesome. Another big thing for him, he's in his entire NHL career of 589 games as of this game. He is now a point per game in his NHL career. 589 games played and 589 points as of this game. I'm going to touch on that at the end once we're done talking about these games as well. And that's pretty much it. A bunch of PK. I think Branson led the team in ice time. Not a big deal. But just a good, solid effort all around. But could have been better? Yes. And the next game in Anaheim. And we won it. And pretty much me, I'm thinking, are we back? Are we back into it? Just back to winning games? Yeah, pretty much, I guess. My thoughts is that it shouldn't have been as close as it was, right? You're up 1-0 and then 2-0, and then you let it get 2-1, and then, you're back up 3-1, and then you let it get 3-2, and you kind of just let it stay close the entire game. And same with the LA game I just mentioned. They had a ton of power plays at the end. I believe 3 penalties. We killed 3 penalties in the third period, being up a goal. That was a lot of pressure. I think just a high pressure situation. We should have probably gotten another one to make it a 2-goal cushion and just be able to. It would be a lot easier. But regardless, and we're playing Markstrom again, which I was pretty frustrated about that because I think, I guess it makes sense to play Markstrom for Anaheim and then Vladar for San Jose, comparing those two teams. But I honestly thought that even if LA was a big competitor, like a playoff contender, or I guess a playoff level team, I think we should have still played Vladar against LA, Markstrom against Anaheim, and then Vladar against San Jose, and then who knows, maybe even you do him against Seattle, do 3 for Vladar and 1 for Markstrom. But we didn't do that, and we played Markstrom, I guess, and it worked out, I guess, at the end. But still, a little bit disappointed that that's how it went in general. But key milestones. Lewis is playing his 800th, and I think Stone was playing his 500th in this game. And then Stone had the game-winning goal and an assist. Really happy for him, right? Veteran guy on the team. Doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's a good player. I was thinking, why is he shooting the pucks? We just slap and get every time he was shooting instead of passing. And I was like, dude, you're not gonna score like that. Pass the puck. And then he shot it this time. I think it was on the power play, maybe not. But he shoots this thing. I'm like, oh my god, why are you shooting? Oh, never mind, that's a goal. Yay, we scored. And I was really happy for him. So now, Stone, if he shoots, I'm not gonna complain anymore. But it was okay. Penalty kill in this one. It was alright. My big thing is, though, it was 1 of 2. But the one that we scored, Henrique scored in that one power play goal. And the goal that Zegras scored, I think it was 30 seconds after the PK ended. We did a line change, the first line comes out, and then Zegras just scores. Which is, that overall was that was almost a PK, a penalty goal. Sorry, a power play goal for them, but not really, I guess. But still, right? Just sort of PK, and then another kind of PK-ish goal, which kind of let this get pretty close. And even our power play was pretty much just average. Special teams continue to struggle for this team, which is becoming a little bit more of a concern for me because, that's got to improve. We've been a really good special teams team the entire year. One of the reasons here we've been a top 5, if not top 3 penalty killing team, and a top 10 power play team all year in the NHL. So that's gotta be fixed. But still, we win it 4-2. We do a good job, but I think it definitely could have been better. I think Gaudreau had 2 points. Kachuk had. No, I'm thinking of the wrong game. But yeah, that was pretty solid. An okay performance. The first line obviously carried us again, but yeah, my thoughts on that. So the San Jose game. In my opinion, the San Jose game was almost a replica of the one against Anaheim, in the sense that I think pretty much the goals, even as the goals were scored, they were in the exact same order as I think it was the exact same order as the last one, because I think we went up 2-0, they made it 2-1, we did 3-1, and then they made it 3-2, and then we finished the game with 4-2. So yeah, pretty much exact same. Pretty much the exact same game. I think this one overall was better played. From us, however, there were a couple of lineup stuff, because Jarno Kroos has been out for a bit with a non-COVID illness. Shillington's been out day to day with some injury. I think he had that against LA with the first, the game in Calgary. Goodbranson, Zadorov, and Ruzicka were scratched, and so Stone was already in replacing Shillington. Ritchie was in, Mackey, who got recalled from Stockton, and Valimaki, who also got recalled from Stockton. They were all in. Stone, he's already been in, good. Ritchie, he's been in and out, all year, so good. Mackey, glad to see he's here. And then Valimaki's the name that scared me here, because overall, past 2 years, his play hasn't been that great. And I know he's on that road to getting better, but with his overall play, but again, he's always scared to be out there. He makes defensive mistakes. He's just doesn't play a good overall game, and nothing against him. But the expectations from him was that he was the crown jewel. And I don't know, I heard this story, read about this story, that I was shocked to hear. Back in 2018 or so, Ottawa literally offered to trade Mark Stone in exchange for Valimaki. Valimaki for Mark Stone. And the Flames said no, because Valimaki, that's a crown prospect guy, and then Stone goes to Vegas and he's tearing it up. Vegas might not even make the playoffs, on a side note. But no, I don't complain about this deal that much. I guess if the Flames sucked, then I would be like, well, why didn't we make that trade? Still disappointing to know that Valimaki is our crown jewel. This is where he's at. There were such high expectations of him, and this is where he's at with this play overall. But still, I wanted to view it from, just an objective perspective, how is he playing? So, Mackey, my thoughts on Mackey were that he played average. He seemed to know what he was doing. He had a good chance, and he put a shot on goal and got a tip. Does good stuff. He seems confident in what he's doing. He seems like he knows what he's doing. He's making the right plays. He really didn't make any defensive mistakes this game or the next one against Seattle, which I think he was also playing in. And then there's Valimaki. He seemed confident, lost, shaky. You could tell, when he had the puck, he didn't really know what to do with it, and he would just kind of pass it back to his defensive partner. Right? He's defending. He didn't seem to know where to go. He kind of seemed hesitant to do anything, lost, out of place almost, and then sort of grounded by everyone else who was doing their thing. But bad positioning. I think they got one chance on Vladar, and Yusuf Ahmed kind of tried to block, but it almost looked like he didn't know what to do. And I might be looking at this wrong, but that's just how I saw it, honestly. And then on the one goal they scored, I believe it was the Bonino goal that made it 2-1. He kind of goes one way, and it's Stone has to come in and switch. I don't know what happened. They might have just have their partner, how their the guys are supposed to be checking mixed up, and so they were just switching in mid play, and Valimaki wanted to go check the right guy that he was supposed to be checking, but you're already checking a guy. Why are you trying to change while they have the puck? They're in the offensive zone, they're set up, right? And he kind of goes to one guy, I believe. So he tries to move over to where Stone was, and so Stone realizes Stone goes back to Bonino. By the time he's at Bonino, Bonino's already got his skate to the puck and he's redirected it into the net. Kind of gets the redirection going, right? It felt like he was shaky, didn't know what to do. So overall, though, and I'm glad not really glad, but I'm just not surprised to see that he wasn't playing the next game against Seattle. But still, I think Valimaki though did get kind of a little bit more confident as the game went on, which was good. Vladar played great. That's my thought on Mackey and Valimaki, and then Vladar, he played great. Yeah, and almost and I'm just reading through my notes here, sorry, just to get an idea here. Yeah. Basically, this one just felt like a good game overall. Special teams were okay. I might just take a look here on my computer at the specific special team stats just to get just to see exactly what the numbers are here. Bear with me here as I search it up. Go on the website and just see if can't seem to find. Yeah, I'm a little bit lost here, but I think PK and power play were okay here. So I can't seem to find that game right now, and it's the middle of recording. It's an awkward moment to not do that, but regardless, yeah, special teams were okay. I thought they could have been better. PK, right, obviously led that, kind of let them creep close, but it was okay. Lindholm had 2, by the way, also 2 goals, right, 37 and 38. I had that one empty netter, and then was it the? Gosh, I'm forgetting this now. Oh no, was it the game? No, it was. I think the. Was it 2? No, it was the. It was the 3. Was it the 3-1 goal? Might. You know what? Let's just whatever. Forget it. So yeah, Lindholm had 2 goals. I think Kachuk had 1, and he had 3 points total. So, and then Johnny also had 2 assists. So that was pretty good. So that brings Johnny Gaudreau to 99 points as of this game, which ties his career high from 2018-19, and he's 1 point away from 100 to become the first player in Flames for the Calgary Flames to have 100 points since the 92-93 season. I think that was Theoren Fleury. That's pretty iconic. Like, even Iginla never had 100 points in a single season with the Flames. So that is, I don't think he had 100 points in any season in his career, but obviously he played through, a low-scoring era, and he was great for that time. Nothing against Iginla, obviously, but that is just iconic. And now Johnny Gaudreau is also at a plus 54 rating as of this game, which is the highest in a single season in Flames history. The highest was plus 51. Mullen Lindholm is also at plus 51 as of this game. I'm gonna go ahead and just check where Gaudreau might be at in this specific standings. Yeah, so plus minus, taking a look, Gaudreau's at plus 54, Lindholm's at plus 51 this year, like as of now, so as of after the Seattle game, so in Seattle game, which, yeah, basically Lindholm's tied a franchise record that was presented by Mullen. Gaudreau's ahead of that, so if Gaudreau and Lindholm kind of stick with this, they're both going to surpass Mullen and is the highest plus minus rating in a single season in Flames history. That's also pretty good. And I think that pretty much wraps it up, except for one last thought that I have specifically listed out, specifically put that on my notes. Just remember to say it to finish up. And I say this because we had a 3-1 lead at a point in this game. At least we didn't give up a 3-1 lead to the Sharks this time, like we have for the last 2 times. Pretty much sums it up, in my opinion. And then the latest game. This is the one I'm doing this. Right now it's 11 p.m. I'm doing this just about right after the Seattle game, so this one's fresh in my mind. I have to say this: PK and power play were great today. PK was good. Power play, that's what I have to strike down. I believe it was 1 of 4. I don't know if they awarded the Stone goal. If they said the Stone goal, Stone had another goal, by the way. I don't know if they said the Stone goal. If basically the goal he scored was power play or not. Cause originally, I think in the game they said it wasn't a power play goal, and then I was just checking the stats for the game, and it said that counted as a power play goal. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, they say the Stone goal is a power play goal, so I assume that must have been. So yeah, he had another goal. He had a power play goal. It was 1 of 4. But the other 3, like, it felt like we weren't generating enough chances on the power play. We had 4. We did get that 1 goal, but still, it just was like, we just didn't get going on any of those. They kept clearing the puck. They were aggressive on the PK. Gotta give it to them. They had a really, really good penalty kill. But just power play felt dry. Like we didn't generate much. We didn't do much of the right passing. Sometimes we were making pass, kind of like trying to get a pass, and it was just a bad pass. Like you knew that was a bad pass, and it was still being made. It brings that back down to that point. Like we're kind of cruising. Like we're not really concerned. And like what happens if we lose this game? It's not that high stakes. Considering that we really brought that lead back on the Pacific on the LA Kings. But still, you don't make those mistakes on the power play. Did they cost us anything? No. Didn't cost us. We still won the game 4-1, but that should have been better. The PK, though, was great. The PK, I think, probably the best it's been in the last 2 weeks in a single game, so that was great. Really happy. So, overall, the goals. 1 point to mention, Hanifin had 4 assists. He had an assist on each goal, and I believe he had 3 of them were primary assists. He also had an assist on the empty netter, which I wasn't aware of until I checked the game sheet, or like the numbers for the games. But that was a secondary assist. So that's awesome. Like, that's 4 assists. He led the team in points, I think. Yeah, led the team in points. Dubé had 2, and that's pretty much it. 4 assists from Hanifin. Good for him. That's kind of like my thoughts on specific players, unless there's something I want to talk about. Which, I guess it pretty much comes down to Johnny Gaudreau and his quest for the 100th point. I believe they said in the broadcast that in one of the interviews he said that he just has to not play the worst 12 games of his life and he'll get to 100 points, which is very true. But I think I think he can probably pull off 110, 115 points this year if he continues at the pace he's been at, which I think he definitely can do that. But here's the thing. Him in the first line barely played today. Like, anyone else watch this game and feel that way? Because he played 16:48, which has to be the lowest he's played in a while. Chuck played 16:59, and Lindholm played 21:13. He led all forwards for the Flames. My thoughts are Lindholm makes sense because he's a PK. But why was he playing? Why was Johnny playing that little? And it felt like the entire game, like the first line would be out, and they would barely do anything. Because like 20 seconds later, they were back on the bench, and some other guys would be out. It felt like the other lines were playing a bit more as well. And I get the approach, right? Obviously, you want to play balanced. Like, you want to balance a lot of the ice times. I think the backline line was playing a little bit more than usual, and I think that's because Sutter wants to get them going. They haven't been doing very much lately. Some of the other guys who haven't been doing much, like Coleman, he had a goal. Who else has kind of been stale lately? Not really anyone else. Toffoli as well. Like, he's been playing really, really good lately. Just not sort of when he came, like the first 5-10 games he was here, he was playing like just scoring. He felt like he was scoring like almost every game, and then sort of slowed down. He was kind of like needs to kind of get back up to that pace, and he did. He had at the empty netter at the end of the game. And I guess that's Sutter's goal. He wants to get some of the other guys going, right? Like Toffoli, like, especially Mangiapane. I would say Mangiapane and Coleman, I would say they're 2 main guys like Flames need to get going here. But Coleman had that goal, and then Mangiapane, I think that was his goal. Mangiapane, Backlund, Dubé. Mangiapane, Backlund, Toffoli. He wanted them going. And that meant the first line didn't play that much. Actually, no one from the first line had any points, if I'm not mistaken. I will take a look. Yeah, Gaudreau, no points. Kachuk, no points. And Lindholm, no points. Which was disappointing. I was like, just the entire game, I'm like, Johnny, just get 1 point and get to 100. And I guess we'll have to wait 2 more days until the next game, which is also against Seattle at home. But yeah, it felt like a little bit frustrating at times because everyone's just get that 1 point. Also a bunch of chances on the power play, but again, they got a lot of clears, and obviously you can't play the entire power play, especially when you're up by 2-3 goals or 2 goals at a time. Like one, especially when you're up, you don't play the main guys on the power play. But that was kind of thoughts of this one. But to be honest, this one had to be the most complete game of the road trip. And yeah, this had to be the most complete game of the road trip for sure. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. Pretty much there isn't much to say. So kind of getting to like a couple of the points that I did want to mention, sort of just to like finish it off. First of all, some of the injuries we've got going. I believe Shillington's out day to day. Yarncroft's with a non-COVID illness, but he did skate, if I'm not mistaken. So I would expect him to be in next game. Gudbrand 0. So basically, that's the 2 main guys. Like I think more than anything, I would love to see Shillington back in lineup because I I would doubt he's out for the playoffs, but I would really hope that he's not out. And I'm just gonna check what's up with Shilly, so to get an idea. Yeah. Cause he's faced a couple of injuries of late. Like he had that ugly fall against Minnesota a while back, and he played for a few games, but then he was actually out after that for a bit. And then after that, I don't even know where I can find this right now. Gosh, I think he's out. Basically, he's out. No, heck, I could just view the roster and see. There it is. Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the lineups for the rematch that we're gonna have. So Schilling is not an injured reserve, but I do think he's injured. Regardless, I would love to have him back as soon as possible. Same with Jarnkrok. That's the forward depth. Yeah, that's the first thing. Second point is special teams, PK and power play. Regardless of ups and downs through the past 2 weeks, I would say it's been on the down. And I think PK, it's going to recover. Power play, I'm a little bit concerned. Honestly, power play goes up and down all the time. I get it. It's got to improve. I think there's something that has to be done for it. Like, just, we need to get that going. Maybe change up the strategy. Maybe change up the lines. Maybe you put, I don't know, maybe you put Toffoli down to the second unit. Just to get things going. I'm not saying Toffoli's bad. I think Toffoli's definitely the best fit. With, right, Lindholm, Kachuk, Gaudreau, and then Toffoli and then Anderson, I think he's the best fit there. But just to get things going, just get guys sparked. Maybe you put, I would maybe try to put Mangiapane on the first unit or something like that. Or maybe try another defenseman, but something maybe just to kind of get things going again. With my thoughts on it. Those are the two biggest things. I think we're coming back home for a bit of a homestand now, and I'm gonna go ahead and check out what our schedule looks like, because yeah, let's just take a look here. Please bear with me as I slowly check our next few games. There we go. Okay, so next game is in 2 days on the 12th against the Kraken, which we'll be talking about next podcast. And then the 14th is the Vegas Golden Knights, so that's an interesting one. And then it's the Yotes on Saturday for the 16th, so it's going to be 3 kind of games next week. Which that's like reasonable. It's a pretty good schedule, I think, going forward. But again, 3 games at home, and we go back on a 2-game road trip, which would be 16th. For the 16th, we're at home against Arizona, and then 18th, Monday the 18th, we're in Chicago, and then 19th, we're Predators. So that's a back-to-back. Okay, interesting, because Predators, that's actually a playoff matchup there. So, like, I kind of see it. Like, we have 3 games at home. My main concern would be just don't get steel at home. Like, I get it. Flames have been playing so much at home, but this next month, I think, is reasonable. Like, it's sort of a good mix of home and road. But, yeah, it's handleable. I think definitely 3 games and just don't get steel, I guess. My thoughts on who should start these next few games against the Kraken. Like, my thought process is Kraken and Coyotes, you just start Vladar. I mean, I get it. They are like, you want to keep Markstrom fresh. You can't just sit him for 4 total days. I can't just have him do nothing for 4 total days, because that's going to slow him down. I get that as well, but he does need a break. He had I think he had a pretty easy game against the Kraken. It wasn't too bad. I think if he gets that break against the Kraken, then he'd be really fresh to play the Knights. And we win that one, like, we're pretty much contributing to pushing Golden Knights out of the playoff race, which would be good. Because if they come in, then they get Mark Stone back, and then they're a beast again. And then against the Yotes, just play Vladar. And I guess maybe if you do decide to start Markstrom against the Coyotes, then I would just then obviously it's a back to back, so you start Vladar against the Hawks and Markstrom against the Predators because they playoff team and non-playoff team. That's the difference I would say in that. And yeah, that should close out the season. There's a total of 10 games left this year. This season it's going by. It's going by pretty fast. Um, but that's just my thoughts on it. Moving on to some of the other big news in the past few days, pretty much the big news for the Flames that came out was Monahan. Like I talked about all the injuries and I missed the biggest one. Monahan's out for the rest of the year. This couldn't there's a lot of thoughts out there, but for me it's kind of like basically okay, if you don't know what happened, I'll kind of just go over what happened. He's out for the rest of the year with hip injury. He's for the right hip, I believe, because he had his left hip done last off season. And he's a surgery he's surgery pro. Like he's getting surgeries every off season, almost every off season. Seems like he had that 2017 off season, I think, where he had 4 total surgeries. Like this hurts. Like this guy is a bit. Who cares if he goes to the score sheet? This guy was a leader. This guy was a hard-working guy that contributed to the team in sort of just that leadership. Like he was a role model, sort of that role player. Like hardworking, does the right stuff. He's a leader, and that sucks that he's out. Look, I'm gonna be completely honest. There was a point where I was just like, if Monahan's playing at the level he was, which was basically no points for like long stretches, I was thinking maybe we trade him at the deadline, right? Or maybe you just put him on LTIR for some reason and get that $6 million of cap space. You can sign guys, or you just trade him for the biggest reason of all. Like you trade him for maybe a depth guy for the playoffs, but then you trade him to open up that $6 million in cap space to be able to have more cap to resign Johnny Gaudreau, as well as Kachuk, Shillington, Manjapani. And I guess I had those suspicions because he wasn't playing well. But honestly, I can't imagine this kind of team without Sean Monahan being a long-term piece here. Because he's done so much for this team. He's had 7 20-goal seasons. Think with 7 20-goal seasons. Last 2 years have been the 2 bad years. Other than that, he's just done consistent. I'm going to check some of the numbers for Monahan. Because he's done a lot for this team. And so I'll just take a look at some of his numbers here. Yeah, looking at his goals. Pretty much, let's see. 8 years. Or no, 7 years in Calgary. For 7 years, as a Flame, like rookie season to 1920, he had 20 goals. 22 in his rookie year, and then 31, 27, 27, 31, 34, 22. So yeah, 27, 20 goal seasons, 3 of which were 30 goal seasons. And then, the COVID year, which was 56 games, only had 10 goals this year. In 65, he has 8 goals. Real drop. But I know for a long, long time, he was actually might come as a bit of a surprise. First player from from his draft, which I'm going to remember the year, 2013 draft. First player from the 2013 draft to hit 200 career goals. That draft had McKinnon in it. And now McKinnon, he has more goals than Monahan in his career. That's true. But for the longest time, Monahan was the most consistent, if not the best player to come out of that draft. There's like honestly, if he just had, like a better year last year and a better year this year, he would still maybe even have more goals than McKinnon did. He's done a lot for this team, and here's the thing. He's a hardworking player. He's got lots of work ethic. And I listened to the Brad Treliving press conference about the specific surgery, and basically Brad Treliving had to say that there's a lot of bad stuff going on, like Monahan sucks and stuff like that. He was playing bad, but he's such a hardworking player. Like, if he's hurt and injured, he's not going to tell you. He's just going to keep playing through the pain. Like, he's going to play through the injury just for the team. And I learned about this thing earlier this year that they were saying it in the game, I think. Last season, because after his hip was so injured that he would lock up on the faceoff when he bent down, and he couldn't get up straight. Like, the play is going on for 10 seconds, and he will play through injury for the team. That's the kind of leader he was. Like, he puts in the work, and I guess he does. Just because it's not out there doesn't mean it's not happening, right? Just because we all don't just because we don't know he's injured. We don't know that he's injured. We think he's okay and he's just not performing. Like, doesn't mean that he's perfectly fine. Like, what's wrong with him? Why can't he perform? It's these things. And it sucks that he's out. Like, it really does. I would have loved to have him for the playoff run just for the leadership that he brings. But again, this is for his health, and I want him to do the best, like get through this the best he can, and be back stronger than ever for next season, where he can come back to kind of that, like that 20, 25, even 30 goal level. Like he's back at it, right? And that's what you want from a guy like Sean Monahan, and being such a team leader that he is. So that's my thoughts on him. Would love to have him back, and next year, like, you know, best of luck to Sean Monahan on his surgery, and best of luck to him to recover, and hoping and praying that he's back next year to just do it all again. I know he can. He's a really big leader for this team, so hoping the best for that whole situation for him. Next topic. This one was discussed a lot around the NHL. Keith Yandle and his Ironman streak. This is just plain old mean. Cruel. Why would you do that? Why? Philly, why? You see, 989 games, he's 11 away. Can't you just play him? He's played 989 straight games, which is the longest active. Or I guess until he got scratched. And the Philly was like, we'll scratch him and bring in this rookie guy who's playing his first career game. I mean, come on. Seriously? Why would you do that? It's cruel. There's no other way to put it. Like, Kevin Hayes had to say about it, which he should have, which was good. You know, it shows that leadership, right? Like, he said that was wrong, like, it shouldn't have happened. Come on, man. Seriously? They didn't have to do this. Just play him for, like, a single shift, if you don't want to play him that much. Which was, I guess, was they wanted to open up that roster spot for a younger guy. I don't know from where, but they wanted to bring it in for a rookie that they wanted to play. It's sad. Like, come on, put yourself in this guy's shoes. He's 11 away from 1,000 games played straight. NHL players, it's an accomplishment to play 1,000 games in the NHL, right? Just 1,000 games. Like, it doesn't matter how, like, if you do like straight or whatever, but just to get to that point, to do 1,000 games straight, that's a feat on its own. Like, that takes work, dedication, a lot of stuff, and they just took it away from him. Kevin Hayes says stuff, which he should. I think that's true. But what I find that Philly should have been like, okay, here's the thing. Florida, where Yandle was, I think, last year, or the year before, I don't know exactly when, but one of the last 2 years, they helped complete Yandle's streak, even though they were making a run into the playoffs. They were going to make it to the playoffs, but yet they played him every single game of the regular season and then scratched him for the playoffs, which I guess doesn't count here. They do that. Florida does that. Who knows? Maybe sacrificing bringing in a better player for the team, but they do that. Can't Philly do that? Is what I'm thinking. It just feels wrong and sad. And I was listening to, I believe, the Steve Dangle podcast earlier, and they talked about this as well, and they made a good point. Like, sorry, I forget what I was about to say. Sorry. They pretty much made a pretty good point that like if like they I remember now. They made a good point that what's good about the Flyers? Like, the Flyers have sucked all year. They have no good story. They have no good like things happening for them that's gonna get them really positive attention in the league. This is one of those things. Like, if Yandle plays 1,000 games straight, that's gonna be a big one. Like, that's gonna be something that's a positive storyline for the Philadelphia Flyers, who haven't had many, and yet they didn't do that as well. Now it's a negative storyline at them. So yeah, that was a good point I heard. And I agree with that. That's my thoughts on it. There's really any thoughts more to put on that, but yeah, Florida helped it, they didn't. This was just wrong, and oh well, what are you going to do? I guess I was going to talk about one more thing that did happen in the past weekend. We're about 54 and a half minutes total so far. I was going to talk about this Trevor Zegras incident. You've probably heard of it. That's been all over the NHL, and I don't know everything, but like, I haven't exactly seen. Like, I've seen the play. I haven't seen it multiple times. So don't have the exact story down. I wasn't really sure if I was gonna have time to talk about it, but I think I might. Might take about a little bit of time to talk about this. What are my thoughts on this? Well, basically, uh, it's a very interesting incident. So I guess kind of just to break it down, Zegras decides to go all flash and go between the legs. So he's playing. They're playing the Coyotes, and it's like 2-0, 3-0 Ducks against the Coyotes, and like Zegras is out. Zegras pulls it between the legs, and he gets stopped. And he goes behind the net and does the lacrosse move, and even going around like Sonny Milano, whatever. And scores a goal and goes all crazy, and he's smirking and stuff like that. And then what happens later in the game, much later in the game, is that it goes 5-0, 5-0 Anaheim with just, I think, like a minute and a half, or less than 5 minutes, something like that. I don't remember. Near the end of the game, he kind of like pokes at the goalie and starts fighting. And basically some guy comes near him, and Troy Terry, who's out there, goes out, tries to defend Trevor Zegras. And so Jay Beagle, who's out there, goes after Troy Terry and just punches the hell out of him. Like, Troy Terry's down and he's still punching him, and he beats his face. There's pictures of it, like he's all red and there is bleeding coming down on his face. All of that. And he's just injured. I believe he missed a game. This was just... And then the thing is that Tyson Nash was the broadcast who was doing the commentary for the game. Even said, like, if you pull those skills like that, like, you gotta be expected to get punched in the face. And that was also pretty con. Like, some people said he shouldn't have said that. So my thoughts on this incident. I guess the thing was, and Trevor Zegras also goes ahead in the press conference and says that, like, it was wrong because, like, Troy Terry was down and he was still getting beaten by Jay Beagle. He was down and that stuff was happening. One of the interesting things that Trevor Zegras said that makes me laugh and reminds me of elementary school is that he was refused to say Jay Beagle's name. Okay. Just said, like, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was going down on Troy. Stuff like that. I've heard parts of the press conference at least. Why won't you say his name? Everyone knows it's Jay Beagle. That's what I thought. And reminds me of elementary school. And I'm gonna go back a little bit here. It reminds me of elementary school because when I was in elementary school, every once in a while, and I guess I'm sure there are people out there that can relate. It's like the teachers would go out and like maybe have like a talk about some stuff, like basically like character talk. Like we did this about bullying a lot, like bullying and trying to like, just discuss it as a topic for like little second graders. That's a good topic. I definitely agree with that. Like that's something that needs to be discussed in schools a lot. It's like a piece of character. So that's that. That conversation's happening, and the teachers would always tell us back then. And even I guess they kind of want that on, but like back then, basically they said that when you're talking about different specific experiences that you might have or that you've heard of, don't name names. Like don't say any names. Like this kid bullied me. Like don't say names. Just talk about the incident, but don't name any names because that's kind of blaming and accusing people. You don't want to point other people out for in bullying incidents. Just don't say names. Keep it anonymous. Sort of thing. And so, in my mind, this was just like not Troy Cherry, Trevor Zegras, just like not trying to mention Jay Beagle's name because it's like an incident. Like he's just trying to not say the name, not to like call someone out specifically, which I thought was kind of. I didn't see that as necessary. Just kind of found it funny. My thoughts on it. Look, physicality is a part of hockey. It's moving on from that. My thoughts on this: physicality and fighting. And like if someone pokes your goalie and someone comes out to defend, and there's going to be that punching, kicking, not kicking, but like punching and like battling and scrum, that's going to happen. Some guy's going to come in and defend, like he's going to get scrummed. And there's just a big scrum around the net. That's a part of hockey, right? Like someone pokes your goalie and you go to defend your goalie. That is a perfectly fine part of hockey, in my opinion. And you go to maybe like pretty much how this happens, right? Zegras pokes, I think it was Vomelka, but the goalie. Right, Jay Beagle kind of comes there, and Troy Terry sees he comes in to defend, and then Jay Beagle goes after Terry, and there's a big scrum. In my opinion, that's a perfectly fine part of hockey. But going too far into the sense that Troy Terry is down, like he's bleeding, he's hurt, and you're still going at him, like this guy's not going to attack you. This guy's down. Troy Terry's not going to come back out at him, and Jay Beagle continues to attack him, which is what I found was wrong. And I get it, like. Fighting and that stuff is a part of hockey. You defend your goalie, that's a part of hockey. Right? Some guy is kind of getting cheeky. You go after that guy. And I'm not saying Zegras or Troy Terry are being cheeky or anything. I'm just saying someone's being cheeky, you go after them, you get them. But when they're down like that, that's unnecessary. There's a reason hits from behind, when the player's not expecting it, aren't allowed. There's a reason where hits to the head aren't allowed, especially when a player is not expecting it. It's because to keep players safe, and because someone's not doing, like, some guy is just facing the boards and you just charge at them from behind, they're not even seeing you. That's just wrong. There's a reason those things are banned. And this I started seeing the sense because this person's down. He's not going to do anything to you. And you're still going at Terry. Beagle's still going after Terry. Which is what I thought was wrong here. That shouldn't have happened. And I think, that's something that the league's got to crack down on. Other than that, the other major thing, and I agree with what Zegras' point is, regardless of kind of him refusing to mention Beagle's name. He who shall not be named. I think that was another thing they said on the Steve Dangle podcast. Which I found funny. I'm just putting that here. But I agree with him. That shouldn't have happened if he's down already. That was unnecessary, obviously. The other part of this is Tyson Nash, I believe that's his name, commentary on this call, like, if you pull flashy moves, be ready to get punched. Basically, paraphrasing what he said, but that's basically what he said. And I agree with him. Like, you're gonna pull flashy moves like the lacrosse move and whatever it's different names it's called. I call it the Svechnikov because he's the first guy to do it. Or at least in the NHL, I believe. That I just call it the Svechnikov. But yeah, I agree with Tyson. I agree with what Nash had to say. I agree with that statement. Like, if you're gonna do that kind of move, which, like, that's not even a real authentic hockey move. That's that's what kind of move is that? That's just too flashy. Like, you're gonna get attacked for that. You're gonna get that punch back. You're gonna get that push back. And I think, like, come on, it's unnecessarily flashy to kind of have to pull that move. And I personally don't like it. And I personally feel like that's the kind of thing, like, they pull this kind of move and it's all the attention, like, oh my god, the guy did the lacrosse move. You realize, Sonny Milano was right there open with the open net. And this is just my opinion, obviously. Was open there. Zegras could have easily gone behind and just passed to Milano for him to bury it. Right? He didn't have to go, like, do the lacrosse move. Like, literally, Milano Center, he literally does the lacrosse move, like, over Milano. It's tough to describe. Go watch the video. It's unnecessary. Like, he could have just passed that. It's unnecessarily over-skillified moves. That isn't even 100% hockey, in my opinion. Like, you literally call it a lacrosse move in hockey. It's ironic. I know. And so you're obviously going to get attacked for it. Like, that's right. You're going to pull those kinds of flashy moves unnecessarily in a game you're already winning by a lot. You're going to get punched in the face for that. Was it all that punching unnecessary? Yes, it was unnecessary. That shouldn't have happened to Troy Terry, but that's my overall take on it. Right. I just don't know. Obviously, I have my own biases. Like, I don't like Ducks much, but that's really not the case here. I guess it's just that I don't like those kinds of big-time flashy moves. Like the lacrosse move, I think they're a little bit unnecessary in the game, and they're not totally hockey. And yeah, I would also agree that physicality is a part of the game, but to that extent, it's definitely not. But that'll be my thoughts on that. That's pretty much all I have to say for today's podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me on a much shorter episode. I might note this time. We're going to finish with less than an hour and 5 minutes here. We're going to finish pretty quickly here. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening. Thanks so much for those of you that have watched all the episodes previous and have watched or listened to this one. One quick note to mention is that last podcast, episode 2, I was using my headphones. I'm using the same ones right now. The audio kind of got cut out. I think it was because of something that happened with the headphones, but I'm not entirely sure. So I do apologize about that. I did put what I said, typed it onto the screen, and that just kind of like what I remembered I was saying at that point, and just put that there. And I do apologize for that. I don't know exactly what that was happening. I'm going to go ahead and blame my headphone setup, and I'm still using them today. If I do observe that happening in this recording as well, I'm going to try to do it without headphones, just free record, because I use my phone for this, recording on my phone, and just plug the headphones in, and it has the headset that I'm like talking into. I might try it without it, just doing open. I did actually do like a little bit of like a 1 minute trial before recording this podcast, and it seemed like the audio was a little bit more, a little bit worse quality overall. But I might try that if I see this as a persisting problem or as a reoccurring problem. That's my thought. That's just one thing I wanted to put out there. Next episode plan, that should be out next Sunday in 1 week, and see what other headlines have been cooking around the NHL and the Calgary Flames and what they're up to as the playoffs continue. So thank you so much for listening. Taking the time to do this, whatever you're doing right now. Maybe you're trying to sleep and it's easy for you to fall asleep to my boring, monotone, robotic voice. Maybe you're listening to this, I don't know, playing NHL, playing one of the child video games, playing something like that. Maybe you're doing this while building a puzzle, building Lego. Maybe you're in the car. Whatever you're up to. I'm glad that you decided to listen to me and listen to my thoughts. If you have any thoughts, something you said that you agree with, something I said that you disagree with, anything to add, any opinions, specific opinions, any questions, or anything you would like me to mention in future podcasts, please tell me in the comment section below. And anything editing related, or audio related, that you might have suggestions for the audio stuff, please, by all means, in the comment section down below, do mention that and I will talk about it. Thank you so much for listening and have a very nice day. I will see you all, or talk to you all, next week.